Welcome to the Day of Wellbeing. Today I want to talk about health Jenga. Now, Jenga is a game I expect you're familiar with, where you have these little blocks and you take it in turns to lay them down to build a tower. And as you go, there's more and more gaps in this tower. And eventually these gaps make the tower so unstable that the whole thing falls down. Now, this is a good analogy for our health, because often as we go through life, certainly as we get older, we may have what looks like a solid tower, right? We feel good, we feel strong, whatever, we're fit, as opposed to healthy, which is an important distinction that I might go into in a bit. However, these little gaps in the system, they add up, and eventually what looks stable can turn out to not be very stable. And when it goes, the whole thing can go quite dramatically. Okay, so I'm not saying this to frighten anyone, just to kind of make people aware that health can collapse, right? And it can be accumulation of lots of small problems. And that's why I think it's so important to, as early in life as you can, really embrace this idea of taking responsibility for our health and adopting practices which support our health, which are not necessarily dependent on a third party like going to the doctor, yeah, and getting some medication and taking it. This kind of very passive approach, which I've talked about in other videos. We have this kind of culture of a very passive approach to healthcare, where we hand over responsibility to our doctors and they give us a pill and everything's fine. Now, one of my teachers, and I'm not advocating this, by the way, but he just mentioned that in communist China during the Cultural Revolution, there was a problem with healthcare provision because of a massive population and a lack of qualified professionals. And the way that they addressed this problem was to not allow anyone access to healthcare unless they had attended their Tai Chi lessons every day and had a certified Tai Chi master stamp. He's attended or she's attended. And the reason for this is that so many minor or less serious health problems can be mitigated or completely avoided through a healthy regimen of sensible, well-chosen exercise. Now, there is a certain, as far as I'm concerned, medically, there's a certain kind of magic to things like Tai Chi and Qigong. I don't mean that in a kind of woo-woo sense. I just mean they're so powerful, they're so well designed, and they've evolved over thousands of years. Particularly Qigong. Tai Chi is more recent, but it's based on the same principles. To work on all these kind of multiple systems simultaneously to kind of optimize human health and to mitigate problems of aging and disease and all these other problems that we have with our health. So there's tools available. And China, it was Qigong, Tai Chi, meditation, that kind of stuff. Also in India, there's the whole yogic tradition, which is a very ancient, venerable, powerful tradition of health and fitness and spiritual development. And then we have some Western versions, like things like Pilates and even things like Aquafit and just general fitness. But okay, so now I'll talk about the difference between health and fitness, because it's quite an important thing to understand, right? So you might be someone who wants to run and you train and you're getting really super fit and you've got all the right diet going on for your optimizing your energy and all this kind of stuff, and you're training for the marathon. And that's great, you're really fit. However, it could be that your knees are really not very happy. It could be that your internal organs aren't particularly functioning very well. Your breathing might be very shallow. You may not be kind of getting all the kind of blood flow, oxygenation around your system, all this kind of stuff, as efficient as it could be. And so in a way, you're kind of sacrificing your health for your fitness. This can happen, right? So from a Chinese medical perspective, health is very much about organ function. So, you can have big biceps and, you can be a bodybuilder or whatever, or you can be a runner, or you can be super fit in a kind of external health sense. But what really matters is the functioning of your organs. Okay. So, your kidneys, your liver, your spleen, all of this stuff, brain, obviously. That's more important in terms of health rather than fitness. Okay. And they're different things because they're different goals, really. One is you have some external goal that you want to achieve, like sports, athletics, marathon running, whatever. Well, that's different to having this kind of solid base that's going to carry you through your life into old age and give you the best chance possible of avoiding medical suffering and having health and fitness and, on all levels. So mental, happiness, joy, all this kind of stuff. It's quite hard to have joy when you have medical problems. Although it's not impossible, but it makes it harder. So that's the difference between health and fitness, right? And so this thing about adopting a health practice, Pilates, yoga, swimming is a good one. I mean, it is a fitness practice as well, but it's also a health practice in the sense that, your breathing's involved and every muscle in the body is involved. But some kind of practice that takes care of your health, that really supports your health, that you do regularly, diligently. I strongly recommend Qigong. Wonderful. I mean, there's so many different schools of Qigong, and I might make a whole video about, different schools and different teachings in that area. Some of it's like standing like a tree, the kind of surprising health benefits of standing for 10 minutes in a posture like this. Or you get all these kind of movements like Marriage of Heaven and Earth, that one's called, and all sorts of stuff. And there's a lot of internal components, like things like alignment and breathing and the way that you move your body and all this kind of stuff. And like I say, yoga is a good one, although I would say with the yoga, my understanding, having had some experience of it, but much more with Tai Chi and Qigong, is that yoga, I would say, is more useful for developing strength and fitness, and also for the kind of energetic development, like prana and all that, pranayama and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of healing and health, I would say that Tai Chi, particularly if you've got an injury or you've got a chronic condition, I would say, from my own experience and also from what I've been told by people who do know what they're talking about, that that's a more supportive practice, probably. Gentle Tai Chi, especially Wu style Tai Chi, if you get into this, is very much about healing. Is probably going to be a better place to go if you're very compromised than yoga. And then when you have a better baseline of health, then yoga, by all means, great. Get that strength, can hold those postures and all that business. And again, things like Pilates are about core strength, and so many other practices that you can get into. The point is, have something, because if you don't do it in a consistent way, then this Jenga effect can kick in, right? Where it's like, well, you haven't really paid attention to your health, and you've got these little, things like misalignments that over the decades become real problems, and give you like really bad back problems or pain or what have you. A little misalignment can really compound over time. So I think, another one would be Alexander technique, for example, the way you carry your body and you kind of, first of all, become aware of problems with your alignment and your habitual way. Like I used to play the flute and I had some Alexander technique for that. And obviously, that's going to create problems if you're not very mindful, because you've got this very asymmetrical thing going on. And I know a lot of people that play musical instruments suffer later in life with, potentially quite severe aches and pains and, health issues related to that. So there's this big thing now on music courses where, you look at the kind of health aspects of the instrument that you're playing. So I think I've made my point, right? So taking responsibility for our health, finding a practice that works for us out of all the available practices, and then being diligent about it, not kind of really harsh, kind of beating ourselves up. I must, do 5 hours a day of this practice, but just that kind of drip feeding your health. An image they have in for alignments in Tai Chi is if you get like a bunch of string and you stick it to the ceiling, right? It's not going to change. It's going to stay kind of tangled and bunched, but over time, gravity will just kind of, and that's the kind of effect I'm talking about. Is this kind of just gently over time, just allowing the benefits of your practice to work. Another image very similar to that is, which I'm working on myself, is if over decades you've kind of screwed your system into this tight ball of all sorts of problems, with little muscular tensions, misalignments, tension in the jaw, habits of thought, all this kind of bad stuff, right? It becomes this kind of tangled mess. And then when we get into something like Tai Chi or Qigong or yoga or whatever it is you're doing, we have the opportunity then to start to untangle this mess that we've created, but it can take quite a long time. And again, it takes patience and persistence to do that. And I'm hopeful with my own, I had coming out of quite a serious health thing, and I'm being very diligent. So I'm kind of reminding myself as much as anything, there is this possibility through these practices of taking that messy ball of wool and unwrapping it to restore health. So that's it. Health Jenga, something to think about. If you don't have a daily or almost daily practice that you do that's health related, not fitness related. I mean, fitness is great as well, but I'm talking about specifically health related. So think about that difference and consider adopting a health related practice on a regular basis. Okay, thanks for watching. Please like us, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.